Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Monday, May 19th, 2025. I hope you enjoyed your weekend. I hope you're safe and healthy, and I hope that your family is safe and healthy, and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in health, trying to heal and help, and those that work along with first responders who are the brave ones that risk their lives to help. Also, blessings upon those that pick up garbage to keep our places clean and those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women out here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover teenagers and children that are victims of child molestation and pedophilia. People that are victims of prostitution and child prostitution, pornography, child pornography, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators, profiteers, and perverts that make these industries exist. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. More than 700,000 men, women, children, families, senior citizens, and military veterans homeless in the United States. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. I'd like to give a special shout out today to one of the men that is my personal inspiration, one of the men who I consider one of the greatest men to ever walk the earth, Malcolm X. Today is his birthday, and may he rest in peace and rise in power. So I want to set the stage for the upcoming series between the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers. I'd like to start by saying, as Knicks fans in Knicks Nation, there's a lot of energy, rightfully so, around the New York Knicks and the hope of what may happen, what could happen, as the Knicks are now in the Eastern Conference Finals of one of the final four of the NBA. The Eastern Conference Finals is New York Knicks and Indiana Pacers, and the Western Conference Finals is the Minnesota Timberwolves and Oklahoma City Thunder after Oklahoma closed their series against Denver yesterday. So to be in this position, you're one of the four best teams in the NBA this year. That is what it is. Regardless of how a team got there, you don't get to the Final Four in the NBA without being actually one of the four elite teams of the league. And the Knicks are in that category. We should be very happy about that. I also want to caution us, Knicks fans, especially in Knicks Nation, and those of you that are more of the more level-headed ones, to help those that are not, which are many. One game at a time, one possession at a time is still the watchword right now. One game at a time, one possession at a time. I want to start also with the two head coaches, which are very emblematic of the two teams. Rick Carlisle is one of the few NBA coaches that has won a championship as a player and as a coach. He come out of University of Virginia, drafted by the Celtics in the third round when they used to have 3 rounds or more. And it was part of the 86 championship team of the Boston Celtics. And then he is the only coach to bring a championship to the Dallas Mavericks. And so in 2010, 2011. So he's an NBA guy that played in the league and coached in the league and has won championships on both levels. Rick Carlisle spent 10 years in the NBA as an assistant coach once he retired from playing. He's been an NBA coach now for about, I would say, 24 years, going on maybe 25 years. He's been an NBA head coach. So he has a lot of experience. His overall winning record, or should I say his overall record as an NBA coach is 500. He's got 500. No, I'm sorry. He's got 993 wins, 860 losses, which is a little less than a 54% winning percentage. And then let's talk about Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau never played in the NBA, but Tom Thibodeau spent 20 years as an assistant coach before becoming an NBA head coach. And now he's in his 14th season as an NBA head coach. Tom Thibodeau's record is 578 wins, 420 losses for 58% winning percentage. So even though Tibbs have never won a championship. His winning percentage is higher than Rick Carlisle's. But the thing about both of these guys, when you're talking about men that have spent 10 to 20 years as assistant coaches, then 15 to 25 years as head coaches, certain things are for sure. Number one, they could coach. Okay? So that's also why I get angry and upset and short-tempered with people that want to question Thibodeau. He spent 20 years as an assistant coach and then another 15 years as a head coach. In his time as an assistant, they won the chip with Boston, with him being the defensive coordinator for Doc Rivers. And so that alone deserves respect, and it deserves not to be second-guessed constantly by people that are lesser and don't have that experience. Same with Rick Carlisle. Number two, not only can both of these guys coach, but after all of these years, again, Rick Carlisle, 35 years coaching in the league as assistant and head coach. Tom Thibodeau, 35 years coaching in the league as an assistant and as a head coach. They know what they want. Beyond the X's and O's of the game, which they obviously would know. They know what they want for their style of basketball that they believe wins. Okay? They know what they're looking for in a player and players. They know what kind of team they want to build in terms of the players. And this is why when you get a smart front office, they work with the head coach to develop a team that fits the head coach. I like to use the New York Knicks as an example of how not to do it when they had Mike D'Antoni as their head coach. Now, I wasn't in agreement with Mike D'Antoni. He's an offensive coach. He's not a defensive coach, and I never believed he could win a championship because of that. But he did have a scheme as an offensive coach. So if you want to hire him, you must give him the ingredients he's asking for to cook in his kitchen. The Knicks never did that. The first thing they should have done, if they're going to hire D'Antoni, is get a point guard. I mean, a point guard he wants. Not just Chris Duhon, who's serviceable, right? Or even Ray Felton, who's, a little bit better than that, serviceable in his prime. They should have went out and got the best point guard they could get to start with this guy who coached Steve Nash, okay? And Jason Kidd. So that's what you want. But they never did that. And that's the disconnect from a poor front office. Again, looking at Jason Kidd's situation in Dallas now, they go ahead and trade Luka Doncic. They didn't consult him, who's a point guard that coaches point guards. And so they make this move and they don't consult him. That's the disconnect between the front office and the head coach. Successful teams have a connection between the front office and the head coach so that their wavelength, their vibe is on the same wavelength. Okay, it's the same page as much as possible, because that's leading to success, depending, of course, on your head coach. If you have a head coach as a Rick Carlisle or as a Tom Thibodeau that have coached 35 years in the league, have proven success in their overall coaching record. Again, Thibodeau, 58% winning percentage. Carlisle, 54% winning percentage. You know they know how to win. And they also know what players they want. So you have to talk to them about what you're getting ready to do. Now, it's like a marriage, and it takes some time and some work. Carlisle in Dallas, Tibbs in New York had to work with their front offices. Carlisle decided to leave Dallas and come to Indiana, and he's got the team that he wants that's going to produce, that he feels is going to produce winning for him. And so let's look at, if you look at Indiana and look at their players. So they traded for Obi Toppin. I think he cost them 2 second-round picks. He's in the rotation, okay? I think they signed T.J. McConnell, who's a vet out of Arizona. He's in the rotation. They get Pascal Siakam as a free agent He's in the rotation. Tyrese Halliburton, they took advantage of, and I mean that, of the stupidity of Sacramento, who drafts Halliburton in the lottery and then trades him. They got him. Then they went and they scouted out and drafted Benedict Mathurin, who to me at that time, if I don't know, maybe y'all remember, but the year Benedict Mathurin came out, he was number one on my board. I was like, I want this guy if we can get him. But the Knicks weren't drafting high enough to get him. But they got him, okay? Then, of course, Miles Turner, they draft out of Texas. And then there's Andrew Nembhard, who's a late bloomer. Andrew Nembhard right now is 25 years old, in his second year out of Gonzaga. He's about, what you see is what you're going to get from him, but what do you get? Toughness. Big time playoff performer. And he's going to keep being that. That's him. Okay? So you see, so now you understand this is what Carlisle in the front office come together and say, okay, this is the type of guy I want. This is the type of team I want. And now you have them in the second year in a row in the Eastern Conference Finals. Thibodeau with the New York Knicks. So you got Thibodeau. Thibodeau comes in. And I remember when Thibodeau came into the Knicks, people were scared and concerned, including myself. Thibodeau does not like rookies. Thibodeau likes veterans. He respects NBA veterans. 35 years in the league taught him that. So when he came to the Knicks, we had at that time R.J. Barrett. We had at that time who was only in his second or third season with the Knicks. Still very young. Coming to the league at 19 was still very young. We thought maybe he would trade R.J. because R.J. was so young and needed so much development. But Tibbs developed him. At the end of the day, though, here's what we end up with. A trade for Mikal Bridges, 5 first-round picks. That really distant picks. A trade for Josh Hart was key. They traded Cam Reddish and get Josh Hart. They traded Emmanuel Quickley and RJ to get OG Anunoby and Precious. They traded future value for present value. They traded the future hope of the talent of 2 young players for the hope of a now-ready championship. And they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. Karl Anthony Towns was a surprise. They took advantage. Again, there's the same thing with it. They took advantage of Minnesota not wanting to pay high luxury tax because Karl Anthony Towns' salary. And they traded him and gave Minnesota Julius Randle, a $30 million player, for almost $60 million player, with Dante DiVincenzo, a steal at the mid-level exception. So you get those, you make that trade. Then, of course, you pick up Jaylen Brunson, who nobody, I don't feel like, understood how good he was going to be. One thing about him, though, he's tough, like his daddy, and he's a winner. And Tibbs knew that. And the whole front office, Worldwide West, the Don, and Tibbs, they wanted this kid. Gave him $100 million, and we can see now. At the time, it seemed expensive. Now, it's more than a bargain, right? Jaylen Brunson. He drafts Deuce McBride. Tough. A Thibodeau guy from the jump. Of course, we know Precious Achiuwa. And then, of course, Mitchell Robinson. When Mitchell Robinson was drafted in the second round, I thought he was a championship piece from that time. And how I thought that was, he was a defensive center. And I thought, if the Knicks, in my mind at the time, I was thinking, if the Knicks can get Mark Jackson, Kenny Atkinson, or Tom Thibodeau as their coach, with this kid, they can win a championship. And then in his first couple of seasons, people were complaining because he kept getting in foul trouble, being stupid, of course, short-sighted, because you don't understand the 5 spot and the point guard spot are the 2 most difficult positions to learn in the NBA. And every center, every talented center takes 2 or 3 seasons to figure out the speed of the game and not commit fouls. Now we have Mitchell Robinson. Even this year, people were calling for him to be traded because they're stupid. I'm just going to say it straight. They're stupid. You don't look at a player like this that can guard all 5 positions at 7 feet tall, cover ground like nobody, and say, you want to trade him. No. we can win the chip, and he's one of the reasons. Thibodeau came on board, and as I thought, recognized that right away. Injury prone or whatever. Call him injury prone. Just play him on your second unit. Mitchell Robinson on the second unit will give you 72 games. The problem was they kept starting him. He's a Marcus Camby in that regard. Marcus was the same way. Starting him, which was the temptation, causes him to get injured because he's injury prone. Coming off the bench, they went to the finals. That's the last team that went to any conference championship. That's the Marcus Camby team. Okay? And he came off the bench for that team. And that's how you do Mitchell Robinson. That's all you had to figure out. But for Tom Thibodeau, this guy's a championship piece. You put all this together, and you have an Eastern Conference Finals team. And these two coaches know what the hell they doing. Both of them have their thumbprint all over the roster. Okay? So, this is going to be a battle with these two coaches, with these two teams that both coaches helped build. And so it's one game at a time, one possession at a time. Now, I feel Tibbs has the advantage. And this is why I feel he has the advantage. Because of Mitchell Robinson and Jaylen Brunson. Why? Mitch Rob is the defensive ace. Okay? Miles Turner is a shot blocking fool. I mean, he's always in the top 3 or 4 in the league, if not number 1 in blocking shots. But all that says really is that, I mean, yes, he's a great shot blocker, but they must have weakness at the point of attack for him to have to block all those shots. That's the thing. And he can shoot the 3. But Mitchell Robinson is on another level when it comes to more important things. Offensive rebounding and rim protection. On another level. As great as Miles Turner is, he cannot cover ground like Mitchell Robinson. And that contributes to championships more than shooting threes. Okay, especially in the NBA. Defense wins championships. Miles Turner's ability to block shots, that's more important for them than his ability to hit threes. Mitchell Robinson is elite in the area of rim protection and in the area of defense. Defense, rim protection, offensive rebounds. He's elite. Okay, so that's why I give the advantage to the Knicks there. And if you put Mitchell Robinson on Miles Turner, he's going to be motivated because he's heard all them trade rumors and all them knuckleheads talking about trade Mitch Rob for Miles Turner because we need a stretch 5. He's going to be ready. He's going to be ready, okay? And that's what makes me excited. Number 2, Jaylen Brunson. As good as Halliburton is, and I got to give it to him, he's really good. They don't get to the Final Four without Halliburton, and they don't get to the Final Four without Halliburton being really good. Jaylen Brunson is the number 1 clutch player in the NBA. And it's not just a cliche title. He actually is the number 1 clutch player in the NBA. Which means if you get this game to 5 minutes and you're close, and you got Jaylen Brunson on your hand. Jaylen Brunson, in that regard, reminds me of what Larry Bird used to do to teams. Larry Bird, during his era, even with Magic Johnson in the same era, and Michael Jordan early in his career in the same era, Larry Bird was the most clutch player in the NBA. If you were within 5, with even 2 minutes left, and you had Bird would put fear in everybody's heart because he could close, man. It was ice water in that boy's veins, and he seemed to get better in those scenarios. That's Jaylen Brunson. Okay? So the thing is, you got him on your team. You got the advantage. As good as Halliburton is, and I'm not taking anything away from Tyrese Halliburton, he has hit winning shots to get them to this point. He has been clutch to get them here. But he's not Jaylen Brunson. And that's what we got. We got Jaylen Brunson on our team. A winner, a clutch dude of all clutch dudes is Jaylen Brunson. Okay? So that's the slight advantage that I give the Knicks in this series. Okay? Everything else is pretty even. Okay? Pretty even. I mean, you got a physical, big, sweet shooting forward in Nesmith out of Vanderbilt, okay, on one side. You got a guy that was once considered superstar status in Siakam. You got a tough as nails point of attack defender that can hit threes in Nimhart. Okay, so you got this. This is your squad. And then, of course, you got, shooting threes, blocking shots, Miles Turner, and you got Obi Toppin, who's one of the best finishers in the NBA. He leaks out and gets down floor with the speed quick, and that gives, in the playoffs, if you can get any easy baskets, that gives you an advantage. So Obi leaking out and finishing, if he can do that 2 or 3 times a game, which he does, now that's 2 or 3 possessions where you got to score. Nobody had to exert any energy but Obi. Okay, and then he's now learned, of course, when he was on the Knicks and going to Indiana, it took him a couple years to learn how to shoot threes at the NBA level. Well, he got it now. Okay, he could do that now. So speed, athleticism, ability to shoot threes, and again, he's learned to use his length defensively under Thibodeau to be a good NBA defender, not just adequate. He could play some NBA defense. Is he all NBA on defense? No, probably not, but he's really good, okay, and he's on a good team. So that's Indiana. The Knicks have Mitchell Robinson coming off their bench, again, with Deuce McBride, a defender, tenacious, tough, and can shoot threes. So this series is pretty even. The difference makers are Mitchell Robinson and Jaylen Brunson. And so it's going to be, like I said, let's resist the urge to just call the Knicks champions and everybody's going to run through everybody, as some will do. This is one possession at a time, one game at a time, one possession at a time. And you want that, especially when you got Jaylen Brunson on your team. You want closing possessions. Again, it comes down to also, though, team that gets the most stops will win the game. Okay, so the Knicks have got to be communicating defensively. And for some reason, they break down communication-wise, and that's when they're at their worst defensively. They got to communicate, especially Karl-Anthony Towns. He gets real lazy communication-wise. He's got to communicate. Josh Hart is really good at that, and he's really good at yelling at Towns, and then when they're not doing it, and he's got the panache and the status to do that. And he's already warning them. You better be alert. Okay, McCall sometimes falls asleep at that wheel too and wakes up late after the other team has hit multiple threes on us. So they got to come out the gate defensively. The team that gets the most stops wins. It's very difficult in the playoffs to get 3 stops in a row. The Knicks, when they did it against Boston, that's when they were rolling. That's when they were coming back from 20 points down. That's when they were blowing the Celtics out, starting with the 3 stops in a row. That's for everybody in the league, though. 3 stops in a row is that thing. If you can get 3 stops in a row, you can start rolling. This, especially in the Final Four where everybody's elite. So with the Knicks, it's very difficult to do for any team, but that's a key. Can you get 3 stops in a row? How many times can you get 3 stops in a row? If you start doing that, you can roll. Offense will flow from defense. If people are complaining about ball movement or complaining about the Knicks offense and trying to criticize Tibbs' offensive schemes, it's because you don't understand. It starts on the defensive end. Okay? So with defense, the offense flows. Defense, offense, good offense in the league, especially in the playoffs, comes from defense, comes from stops. Okay? So the Knicks have got to be very conscious in communication. They got to understand the schemes of Indiana. And this is another thing. Both Indiana and New York, their coaching staffs are good enough to understand each other's schemes. They already know what each other's trying to do. There's just going to be slight wrinkles to try to get an advantage. This is a war, and every little play is a battle, right? So they're going to try to get little advantages. Not going to be major advantages anywhere on either team. They're trying to get little advantages that can cause them to win a game. Okay? For the Knicks, key is getting stops, rebounding the basketball, especially offensive rebounds. Okay? And then, of course, keeping the game close till you get to the 4th quarter, where you got the best clutch player in the world on your team. See? So that's where it comes down to. This is going to be a crucible. It's going to be a tough series. I'm picking the Knicks in 6, but this is how it's going to work. Indiana or any team in the NBA in the playoffs, they look for a split in the first 2 games on the opponent's home court. The Knicks was looking for that in Boston, and Detroit was looking for that when they played New York. Why do they want the split? Because if you get the split, it's 1-1, right? 1-1. Both teams are 1-1, and you really got a 5-game series with the visiting team originally, now the home team for 3 of those 5 games. See? So you can get a split, you take the home court. That's how that works. If you come out of the 2 games and you lose both of them, now you got 5 games left and you're down 2 games, and the team that won the 2 games only has to go 2-3 in the next 5. And these teams are too good. None of these teams have a problem going 2-3. Okay, even in the playoffs. They're all really good. So that's what I'm saying. So the first game is extremely important. And if the Knicks can win that, the second game is extremely important, because to Indiana, all they want is a split. Any visiting team. So in the other series, Minnesota against Oklahoma City, Minnesota just wants a split. That's all they want. If they can get a split, now they got 3 games in Minnesota of the next 5. And that's what they want. Okay? So, and some people say, well, home court, the Knicks have lost a lot of home court. Listen, this is the point in the season where any slight advantage is huge. Any slight advantage. These guys are going to be crawling, scraping. Do you see how Jaylen Brown grabbed Josh Hart by the nuts? Well, that's indicative of how desperate each team is for any advantage they could get. Even playing dirty like Jaylen Brown did. So they just want an advantage, any advantage. And so to get the home court advantage, they'll take that. All right? So right now the Knicks got it. They got a whole home court though. So Indiana just wants a split. It's going to be a tough first 2 games. Very tough. Very, very, very hard. And so 1 game at a time, 1 possession at a time. We got Indiana coming to the Madison Square Garden Wednesday night. That's the game we need to focus on. Forget the rest of the games. Just this game. Forget what's 1 possession at a time at this game. Get them offensive rebounds. Get them 3 stops in a row. Get close so that Jaylen Brunson can do his thing in the 4th quarter. Because this is, again, one more thing. Nobody on that team could guard Karl-Anthony Towns. And nobody on that team can guard Jaylen Brunson one-on-one. But Indiana's elite defensively. So you're going to have Nembhard giving him a hard time. Nembhard might even pick him up 3-quarter court, because Nembhard could do that. But this is where you get Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart bringing the ball up. Okay? And you get Jaylen Brunson off ball. He's got to understand that. And Jaylen Brunson is very cerebral, and he does understand that, but sometimes his pride gets the best of him, because he understands nobody can guard him one-on-one. So he's like, I could take this dude, but he's got to be smarter here. This is for the marbles, man. So he got to be smarter here. I know his daddy's in his ear. I know Tibbs is in his ear. Let's get this dub, man. So that's just the overall thing. 1 game at a time, 1 possession at a time. Try to take advantage of little advantages you got, whether it's Mitch Rob on offensive rebounding or Jaylen Brunson at closing time. Take advantage of that. Everything else is pretty even, and every game will be won by something that breaks out. Like if Nembhard is able to hit 6 threes in a game, or if Deuce is able to hit 3 or 4 threes in a game, that can make the game. Okay, everything else being equal, because that's how evenly matched these guys are going to be. Let's enjoy this, man. We're in the Eastern Conference Finals, y'all. This. You don't get here without being good, without being really good. The Knicks are. That's our team. Long-term sustainable winning is here. Enjoy your Monday. We'll talk more about individual matchups tomorrow. Shalom.